Hey guys, today I thought we could talk about my upcoming, actually not my upcoming fabric line, but the fabric line I'm working on for 2023. So very often you hear me talking to other designers or creative businesses or giving you advice about design, but I thought we could talk a little bit about the design process because I am going through it right now with my next fabric collection. Now, I design, especially now that I teach, I don't design quite as much as I used to on products that are going out into the world. I design everything within my business. So all the handbooks and workbooks and stuff like that I'm designing. But being able to, create for me 20 SVGs every single week or 20 bundled items or 20 fonts or whatever I'm working on for the week, it doesn't happen quite as much. So I think it's really fun that right this very second, when you hear this, my hope is that I'm actually done with this fabric line. But right this very second, I am working on my 2023 fabric line, which might not even come out until 2024 because I'm running pretty close to deadline at this point, and that's okay. I've told myself it's okay. It's been a busier than normal year as we have been really spending some serious time making Design Suite the best program ever. We've done all sorts of things. If you've been following me on social media or following this YouTube channel or even on this podcast, we just have done so many things to make the program a really rich experience for our members that I knew that I was going to have to take a little bit of time off my own design agency in order to make sure that everything would work. So here I am trying to get some design work done, and I thought I would talk to you about how the process has changed for me. So when I first started as a fabric designer, I originally worked for Northcott, and I did all of my lines in Photoshop. I did everything in CMYK, and it was a very tough process to get the repeats to work because Photoshop even now doesn't have a great repeat process, which kind of baffles me. If someone at Adobe is listening to this, there is no good reason you can't create the same keyboard increments that we do in Illustrator in Photoshop. I'm just saying, it doesn't make sense to me, but I'm sure it's a programming issue. Anyway, so we did it in Photoshop. I did 5 lines for Northcott, and it was, it was hand-drawn. Then I would bring it into the computer, and then I would draw over it. My process looks really different today, and it even looks different today than it did even 5 years ago. I am much more reliant on my iPad Pro, and so I still have an Apple pen that's first generation. So I have like the first generation of this thing, and I am, over the years you kind of figure out how to perfect the process. And for me right now, I am in what I call the leaf stage and the foliage stage. So I have dedicated a few days to just building really intricate pieces, and they are not the main flowers. I actually haven't done the main flowers yet. I'm going to do them secondary to this, and I'm doing them all individually, and then I'll pull them into Illustrator, and then I will fix them in Illustrator on the computer. I really often get asked the question, can I just use the iPad? And the answer is no. I think one day it will have the capacity to do what is being done on the computer, but right now it is too new and you cannot get things correct. Cleaning up, simplifying lines, doing it very cleanly and nicely with your Wacom tablet or your mouse, getting the lines to work correctly, building the layers out correctly. It just works a lot better still on the computer. That and choosing Pantone colors you can't do on the iPad, at least to my knowledge at this point in time. You have to choose. So that's the other thing. I don't work in CMYK anymore. I work in Pantone colors for Riley Blake. And so choosing all my Pantone colors, I have a big swatch book that I go through and make decisions on colors and how I want the line to feel, so it'll evoke the correct feeling. And right now, at this very second, I'm in the individual phase. Now, why do I do this? I used to draw everything all at one go. Like I draw all the pieces and build out the pattern as I did it. So it was that experimentation process. I think new designers still need to do that because you're not sure where everything's going to go, how the negative space is going to work out. And I think it's a really great way to work. Because I've been doing this for so many years now, though, I usually have a good idea in my head how everything is going to lay out in my surface pattern design. So I can spend more time on all of my individual pieces and then bring it together at the very end. So I have this really clean repeat, and then I can take that repeat and very easily recolor it. And so the last thing I will do after putting them all together and checking all the negative spaces is spend time in the color process, changing the colors, reworking things, and then working across them across the collection. I've told this to Design Suite before as well. I tend to start with my secondary. This particular line is really weird because I think I am starting on my master. Now, so that's the other funny thing. I think secondaries and masters are almost, they're both unique in a collection. They both have to be very strong. And sometimes I think I'm making a master and it turns into the secondary. In this line, I'm just not sure where it is yet. I'm building the master, I think, in my head. This happened actually with Ciao Bella, which is coming out in November 2023. But I built the secondary first on that line, not on purpose. I built the secondary, and about halfway through it, I was like, this is not the master. This is absolutely the secondary. It's not vibrant enough. It doesn't have enough colors, but I'm obsessed with it because it has a lot of intricacies in the stroke lines, and the way it lays out is so beautiful, and the colorways are really strong. So it became the secondary. With this line, we're just going to have to see how it turns out because I'm still in the early stages. But I will probably spend quite a bit of time just working on the individual elements because bringing it all together will take, an hour. Like once I get all of the individual illustrations together, it is going to happen very quickly, putting it together and then building out the collection and doing the colors. So most of my days that are spent in fabric design are in the actual illustration process. And then I'll have one day where it's just very serious production, where I'm just outputting the correct colorways, fixing the repeats, changing the layouts, making sure that it works negative space-wise, to make it all work. So hopefully those of you who are in the process of building a fabric line, and by the way, fabric line collections are difficult to build and to build well. Right now, we have something called Boost within Design Suite, and it's just a kind of a separate little program I did just for third quarter, just to work with a few different designers. And we're working on a fabric collection right now, and I think they have been surprised at how most lines out there only make it to about 80%. And for most artwork, you guys know, especially if you've come to a design boot camp, 80% is good enough for the regular marketplace. For the fabric industry, for anything that's going to go to physical manufacturing, it has to be 110%. And so when they've gotten their lines to 60, 70, maybe almost 80%, they're always surprised when I'm like, and now the real work begins. Because it's tough. And even for myself, I'll build everything out. I'll think it's all ready to go, and then here we go again, round 2 of the master, which happens very often with me. I'll have to do a round 2 on the master. So it is detailed work. You have to be very down in the details of building those intricate designs, but you have to have also that ability to look holistically at a collection. I think that is a skill that can be learned. It just takes a long time to learn. Because there are very few things where you have to be so deep into the details, but also really be able to use every single fabric and piece together. And it takes a little while to figure that out. So if you're building a collection right now, I hope this helps. If you are on YouTube, I would actually love to hear from you. Are you building a collection right now? How does it feel to you? And what's the hardest parts? If you are on the podcast, I would love if you would leave me a review. I love hearing from you guys. I love hearing what you guys are saying about fabric design, crafting design. You guys know I'm here 3 times a week talking to you about design. And back to the YouTube channel. If you're on the YouTube channel, please subscribe. we are outputting, I think, 4 to 5 videos every single week for you guys talking about design. I don't know very many channels that are obsessed with surface pattern and crafting design the way that I am, and we have had some amazing interviews with people who are owning creative businesses and doing amazing things. So happy to have you here. Stick around. We have a lot coming up on the podcast and YouTube, and we just can't wait to share it with you. Hey, did you know that you can visit me at makeanddesign.com to learn more about this podcast and join my VIP group for weekly freebies? I can't wait to see you there.